Stages of digestion. This one took a little while to make. I wasn't happy with the images, but this one was okay. It took me, yeah.
It's like a Willy Wonka thing or something.
Yeah, it's cool. It's stages. How about that?
That's wow.
How about that?
You must have just said, generate a photo of Jacob Eve.
Before I've had my morning coffee.
Yeah, like, what did you write for this one?
Okay, so you can imagine how like it might be a bit difficult to like create an image from the cephalic phase. So this is a guy, well, it's not a guy. This is a thing eating. He's stimulating his digestion just by looking at the food and touching it. Cephalic phase, this is the first stage of digestion. This is a north to south, Santa Claus, north-south pole. Problems at the top, if unresolved, will lead to problems downstream. If you do not smell, chew your food properly, then what chance are you giving your body to digest the food? It's such a simple thing you guys can do as coaches. How many times you chew? Just count it for me. And don't bias them and tell them how many times they should. Just ask them. So we see some limited digestion beginning in the mouth. What do we see? Mastication means, mastication is chewing. It's not the other thing. Enzymatic chemical breakdown via saliva. So I'm going to go step by step. Salivary, you can just say salivary amylase. I'm just giving you technical terms. Salivary amylase. Amylase breaks down carbohydrates. This isn't as important, it's just awareness. I'm just talking about the pH of the mouth. The pH of the stomach will be between 1.5 to 3. This is like neutral, like water is about this alkalinity. Lingual lipase. What's lipase? Digest. Good. Fat. Think lipid. That's why it's LIP. Lipid is a fat molecule. Lingual is the side of the tongue. You will drop your vitamin D droppers under your tongue sublingually. Very basic. Food enters, you have this sphincter, pyloric sphincter, peristalsis happens, which is a contraction orientation, where the back muscle contracts and the forward one relaxes and they alternate. Contract, relax, contract, relax. Peristalsis happens in the gut as well. It's churning, intestinal and esophageal churning to get it down. So you have muscles that are contracting here. It's not gravity, just gravity. You have muscles here that are smooth muscles that are just working. You notice, I just think it's interesting, you have your esophagus and you have your trachea. Your trachea goes to... lungs. Exactly. So if you get food in your lungs, you can get a pneumonia and die. I don't want to like scare you. It's pretty hard to do that because we have this epiglottis that will cover, and when you cough, actually when you cough when you're choking on food, what's happening is that it might get caught in the epiglottis and you're coughing because the cough creates this pressure to bring back the food and put it down. That's why one of the things we tell people when they're choking is to cough. Keep coughing, this is good. If you want to save somebody's life when they're choking, tell them to keep coughing. And then, the Heimlich maneuver is not really used much anymore. You will go an upward, and if you guys remember from your first aid, if you've done it, you'll go an upward strike with your palm, if they're an adult. If they're a child, you might use 2 fingers. If they're even smaller than that, an infant, you might rotate, but I need to double...
Gravity, you like
yeah.
down and you like... Same action, just a lot harder.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I'll remember correctly, rotating. But double check the infant and child, please. The adult's fine. The gastric phase.
Whoa.
It's important to remember, nutrients are not absorbed in the stomach. And the reason that is because there's no villi. It happens in the gut, the intestine. And a nice little analogy is the stomach is like a messy, acidic washing machine. Mixing up what's called chyme. Chyme is a mix of all the intestinal juices and the food and the acid and the enzymes. This thing, called the fundus, it produces hydrochloric acid and other enzymes like pepsinogen. What does pepsinogen break down? Protein. Protein, peptides, protein amino acids, maybe not peptides, but protein amino acids, proteins into amino acids, sorry. Why people have problems with energy problems is because often they don't have enough hydrochloric acid, or it's not acidic enough, and they're not making intrinsic factor to break down B12. And if they're not breaking down on synthesizing B12, then they're gonna have problems. If someone is having gut issues, your supplements will not work as much. This is very important to know. You're gonna give them a supplement, it didn't create a symptom, coach isn't working, don't like coach, coach sucks, bye coach. 10% of the food you just guys ate before, 10% of the energy contained in food, you've got a 1,000 calorie meal, about 10% of that, 100 calories, is just being used to break it down. Protein takes more, fat and carbs take less. This is a sectional view of the stomach mucosa, showing you the gastric glands. It will make hormones, enzymes, touch, smell, thought, or stimulates this process. This is why it's great to slow down, because you're going to give yourself a better chance to absorb the nutrients, feel more like a superhero. A little bit of physiology here. Just need you to understand it. Gastrin creates gastric juices, increases peristaltic movements of the GI. What does this mean? If you remember peristalsis, it increases your gut motility, so your ability to contract and move things along your stomach and gut. So this is a good thing. You want more of this. What is a lemon's pH? It's about the same as your stomach. 1 to 3, 1 to 2.5. So you only pour in a lemon, so you can, when you're helping someone with stomach issues, digestion issues, one of the first things you could do is give them lemon and lime and some warm water. The next thing you could do is apple cider vinegar. The next thing you could do is Swedish bitters. So you're doing a hierarchy of like easiest or like lowest to digest to the most aggressive. Here's an example, just to give you guys context to help you remember.
Acid.
Yeah.
Worst case, just have it.
Worst case, just swallow a battery. Don't do that. You want your stomach to be here. You're taking antacids. You're on the other side. Of course you're gonna have problems digesting food. This is very important. It links to our friend, hypochlorhydria. The pH, the acidic pH of the stomach triggers the release of pancreatic enzymes to digest food. If your stomach is not acidic enough, you will get less enzyme secretion. You will not digest food as effectively. The stomach and pancreas are separate organs, but they are linked, just like most all of our organs. That's why this happens. The stomach acid acts to sterilize and ward off pathogens, bacteria, viruses. Acidity is good for that. So you can minimize bacterial overgrowth. I would hazard a guess and say some people who experience barley belly and some people who don't, and let's say everything else is equal, except one has hypochlorhydria and the other person doesn't, I would I don't have proof for this, I would hazard a theoretical guess and say that the person who has better stomach acidity is going to be more protected against getting sick from traveling throughout Asia. So really important, hydrochloric acid, you need it to absorb, and I'm not gonna baby you guys here. You guys I think you need to understand basic nomenclature of minerals. What's the first one?
Calcium.
You so excited. What's the second one?
Iron.
Well, that's obvious, B12. What's IF again?
Intrinsic factor.
Yay, as the balloons drop. Good. Stomach and protein digestion. So speaking of what Tyler said, peptides, really lovely diagram. Love my diagrams. Pepsinogen, an enzyme that breaks down protein with hydrochloric acid. This needs to be converted. I don't really need you to remember that. It's converted and then it's turned into pepsin. This is active enzyme, all right, ready to go. Then pepsin interacts with proteins. Eat some steak, right? Interacts with the proteins. These chain of molecules, amino acids, is a chain of amino acids, needs to get broken down. Gets broken down as a result of this enzyme, pepsin. Then, bang, it's all separated. That's how we break down protein. Needs an acidic environment. For you to digest proteins effectively, you need an adequate pH, 1.8, 1.5 to 3. If you have hypochlorhydria, you're not going to effectively digest proteins. You might become a vegan because meat doesn't agree with you, yet you don't know you're a vegan, driven by internal gut issues that you have not solved. Now, of course, veganism and people choosing that diet is multifactorial. Usually it's not just that, so don't just go out and make an assumption. The definition of hyperchlorhydria is a pH of 3 to 5 plus. Very simple. It's annoying to write. I've written this word, got to be 50 times. Maybe just abbreviate and say HC. To me, this is really cool. Pepsin, the amino acid to digest proteins, stops working at 5. So this shit just won't work if you got high stomach acid and hyperchlorhydria at a point. It just stops working. Or it becomes inactive, it becomes much less efficient. So the very enzyme you need to digest protein will stop working if you have excessive hyperchlorhydria, low stomach acid. Mucosal layer. Mucus cells, these things here, secrete mucus. The entire surface of the stomach is covered with a protective mucosal layer. Why is this? Our body's so smart. I love the human body. If we didn't have this, the acidity would kill our stomach. It'd put holes in it. We would self-digest ourselves. Another thing is lipase and amylase is also produced. So it's produced in the mouth and it's produced in the stomach. Oh, one here, one here. We got a couple different helpers helping us try to digest food. Hormones that directly stimulate the secretion of specific glands in the stomach include, so our stomach makes hormones, just TLDR. Acetylcholine, gastrin, which we know helps make enzymes. Histamine. Histamine, we have thought of, Ben and I have spoken about histamine at length. We suspect maybe Ben has too much histamine production, which is contributing to a little bit of skin redness now. However, you should also remember, we need histamine. So this is the histamine, is that alarm, the smoke detector up there for certain issues in our body. I know you signal allergies, but we need histamine. So I don't want you to think histamine's bad. Histamine helps as a cofactor for acid secretion, which is pretty cool. It's not that strong, but it's still a factor. You don't need to write that down. Nerd shit. You can rewatch it. The antihistamines, there's a link. I'm like, my point's not there. My point is here. The antihistamines can potentially seem to block acid secretion because histamine is a cofactor. So if you're having all these antihistamines, you could be doing your stomach a disservice as well in being able to digest food. So you have this loop. You're just trying allergies, the gut, you take this, the antacids, the antihistamines, and it's this loop because you haven't got to the root cause. I understand you want to just not feel like shit for a day, but actively work towards getting to the root cause. Acetylcholine, histamine, gastrin, they all help create stomach acid. And things that go against that, block it. Smooth muscle of the gut. The gut's made of smooth muscle. Smooth muscle means what? It's not non-contractile. It will contract. There's cardiac.
Involuntary.
Yeah, involuntary. I could sense what you meant, but yeah. Remember the lumen? There's one of the definitions. Lumen. There's a lumen, big hole. We're just tubes. Epithelium. What's another one? Submucosa. I'm just trying to help, just like mucosa. Intestinal phase. What's the first phase? Second?
Gastric.
Wonderful. So now we're at the gut. Just to go from stomach to gut now. This is where 90% of the absorption occurs. Stomach, no absorption. Or almost, I'm just gonna say almost none. 90% here. Diagram, go in, stomach, go in further. Okay? You see villi. Go in further. More villi, but we're zoomed in now. Now we're seeing things like, where's the lacteals? Lacteals help absorb fat. It's the big yellow thing. Then we go in further and we see microvilli on top. We've got villi, then we're going deeper. We've got the microvilli, and they help absorb nutrients. And here's another like a photograph, probably from a microscope. And then these in between are tight junctions that help like connect our gut together in a really strong structural lining. When these are separated, we get problems. Ah, my stomach hurts. Ah. Why did I put this here? Because people don't know what their stomach or gut is. A kid will say, my stomach hurts. They don't know what their stomach is.
Samuel's kid, my stomach hurts. Like, where? What part? Tell me.
That's literally what I'm going to say. Does the mucosal lining hurt? I hope not. So why I say this is because people are going to, the point I said before, my stomach hurts, you just need to pinpoint where it hurts, okay? Your stomach doesn't hurt, your gut probably hurts. Champ. Duodenum, this is the first part of the digestive process. Duodenum, these are funny words. Jejunum, I think I'm mispronouncing it, but I've always said it jejunum. I'll just say it how I want. And then we have the large intestine. Actually, we have the ileum, sorry. 1, 2, 3, ileum, then the large intestine. The duodenum, 20 to 25 centimeters. So primary role is to release enzymes and buffers. You'll tell you in a sec what buffers mean. From pancreas and liver. We're here right now. Release secretum. What is that? Yeah, secreted by S cells. See, universities, they'll make you memorize. What's this secreted from the S cells? It's just nice to know. I don't need you to memorize that. What is important to know instead is that you will release bicarbonate, HCO3. Why? CCK stimulates bile in the duodenum via the gallbladder. So yes, there'll be a signal, there'll be communication from the duodenum to and from the pancreas, to and from the liver to communicate that we need a certain amount of enzymes to break down this food. Jejunum. Jejunum. Call my son jejunum. 2.5 meters long. So we're going from 20, now we're 2.5 meters long. No, this is going to be bigger than my hands. So part of your intestine is this long. Bigger. Right? Wild stuff. Chemical digestion, primary nutrient absorption site at the site of the, what does that mean?
Small intestine.
Yes. Very simple. Chemical digestion, primary nutrient absorption site. Jejunum, number 2. Oh, we get another slide of the same thing. Another nice diagram that I did not draw. Each cell, this is probably the thing, each cell in the villus has microvilli, and then you have epithelial tissue, tight junction proteins in between. Cool, cool.